Welcome to You Can Do It. Today we're working on a Dewalt metal chop saw DW875. So story on this is I need one of these and a guy was selling one locally. So I went down and did a deal on that, and he'd actually got this chop saw which he basically chucked in because it made an absolute racket. Yeah, so it does run. It's got a new disc on it, but it makes an absolute racket. So it's basically telling me that I think the bearings are gone in it and I need to replace the bearings. And it'll probably be the bearings on the gearbox. These are really good saws. They're 2,000 watts or 2 kilowatt. They're great chop saws. So what I'm going to show you today is how we're going to quickly check these bearings and replace the bearings if they're broken. So first of all, I'm going to let the saw up. It's got a chain there which I'll just unleash, and that'll let the saw up. I've had a lot of positive responses and comments on the channel, so if you like the channel, please subscribe and send me any comments or questions that you've got on the things that we cover. So first of all, you've got to undo this now. So I've actually just loosened that. If you can't, if you lock it, there's a pin here which you push in. Yeah, you push that down and that'll lock that wheel solid so that you can then undo that nut. That pin in there. So I've locked that. So it's a left normal thread. So left, turn it anti-clockwise to release it. So we're going to release that there. Put it over there. And you take this one off here. See, these are like splined. So I'll take that off. Then we can take the disc off. I'll take the disc off there, we'll put the disc there. Then we've got here, so now you've got another little, there, that's the centre disc. Know where it is. Then this one comes off. Now this is again on the spline. And then behind that, look, you've got another one there. Okay. Now what you got to do is undo these. Now I've actually started this and I sort of backtracked. I thought it might be a video for a useful video because I couldn't find anything on the internet, and I generally only make videos that I can't find a decent one on the internet. So you've got to undo these. Now they've kept them holes in here so you can go through and do the ones that are there. And look, there's another one there. You can undo that. So you've got 4. I've already undone 2, but just undo those 4 and then this whole cover will come off. So let me do that. All right. So that cover then comes off. So we'll put the cover here like that. And we're left with this mechanism here. So that was the lock. We used to lock it like that. Okay, so we now need to undo that bolt, and that bolt. And I think the top of this will come off, and we can have a look at the gearbox. But I mean, there's gears for the motor, which I might have to replace those. But at the moment, we're just going to look at this gearbox, and then we'll run it and see what it sounds like. Okay, so let me undo that one, and that one. All right, that's a small one, look. That's a long one, and that's a long one. Put them in our bolt pile. Right, and then what I should be able to do is start moving. Yeah, look, this comes off, look. So what I'm going to have to do is probably put a screwdriver under here and gently lever that off. So let me get on and do that. Yeah, I've done that. I just put a screwdriver there and just gently lever it and rock it at the same time, look. And now you can see I've got a good gap there. So if I keep going with that, look, that's come off, look. There you are. All right, and that's interesting. So before we even go to this bit, you can see that this grease is old, look. So when they assembled it, they pushed this in, they put the grease around, but that grease has now gone, I wouldn't say hard, but it's not doing anything. I mean, even around the motor there, that motor runs. I'll just show you that. So if you have a look, I'll spin the motor. Now the motor doesn't make too much noise, so it is obviously coming from the gearbox, but look. You see that grease is doing absolutely nothing. So we need to clean that out and then put some new grease in it. So that was one thing. And so now we're on to this bit. So this is obviously the back bearing, which went in there. But the one that will have taken the most abuse will be this one in here. So we need to take that inside now and have a look at that in a bit more detail. But yeah, there's a bit of a wobble in there. So let me go and take this now, and we'll go and clean this up, and then we'll go and inspect that and try and look at the bearings. But it's actually quite a simple unit. So obviously we need to clean the outside of this. Now, if I were to replace the motor bearings, I'll have to take that motor out, which is a slightly different project. But anyway, let's just try and do this bit. Okay, I'm inside. I've used my little tray. There's a video about how to make these trays. I've used that tray and some degreasant, so some car pad engine degreaser. I'll put a link to that in the video. So that's all nice and clean. So now what we can have a look at is the bearing, but it's very difficult to do this with two hands. But there is play in here. If you go like, yeah, look, there's play in it, a lot of play in that, but also when you rotate that, there's a lumpy, like you can tell that, so the bearing is hitting a groove or something on the outer race surface. So that bearing is shot in there. Now, this fits in nicely with the video I'm doing about bearings, about how people get ripped off with bearings. So what we're going to do is find out what bearing size that is, and then we will order a new bearing. And rather than go to Dewalt and pay stupid prices, we'll just get the bearing direct off the internet. So let me push that. Now the way we get that out is by tapping that out there. Now be very careful that you don't damage that surface. So I'm going to use a bit of old oak here, and I'll tap that out, and that'll come out the bearing. Okay, let me do that. All right, so we've got that off. Look, that's come out. There was a spring washer at the back of that, so that comes off of there. Right, so now what we need to do is pull these bearings off and replace them. So we're going to get a puller and pull this one off, and we'll get a puller and we'll pull this one off here, and then we can replace them. Okay, let's pull those two bearings off. Okay, what I've done with this, I've just used a tyre lever there and the tyre lever on the opposite side, and that's how that one's come off. Look, it's not off totally, but I just wanted to show you how to do that. So if you haven't got a puller, you just use some tyre levers. So we've got those bearings off there. Look, without damaging that seal, we just used one of those and one of those. So you put that around the bearing like that, and then you can use the pullers to pull that whole thing off. So we've got this bearing and we've got this bearing. Now when you run this one, you can actually hear, so this one is completely shot, and that one also is shot. So I think when we put these two bearings, put new bearings on here, it's going to run a lot quieter. So now we're going to move over to like a bearing type part of this, as we're going to measure these bearings, and we're going to not order them from Dewalt or anyone. We're just going to go online and order the correct bearings. So this is part of a video I'm going to do on bearings, about how we're all ripped off for bearings. So anyway, let's go and measure these up so that we know what size bearings we've got to get. Okay, so we're inside. We're going to measure these bearings. Now these have actually got markings on them there. Well, you can actually see them, but they're very, no, forget it. Anyway, these are marked on what they are, but let's just imagine that you don't know what these are at all. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to measure them. So you need a set of vernier calipers to measure them. All right, so the way we measure them, we measure the outside diameter, and then if you look down there, you can see that's 35. So let's just write that down. So OD is 35 millimeters. So then we do the ID. Let's do the bit in the middle. That's 15. ID is 15 millimeters. And the last one is how thick it is. And she's 11. So it's 11. So thickness is 11 millimeter. Okay, now I've got to have a video that comes out about all these bearings, but basically this has got sealed. So you have this one here, which is it's covered, but it's not sealed. And then you have these type, which are actually sealed with the rubber, sealed for ingress and things like that. Or you can have it like this, but with no cover at all, which means you can see the ball bearing. So that's an open one, which you might have in, say, a gearbox where there's lots of oil flying around and stuff like that. But when something like this, where you're going to get dust and crap and all sorts, you'd have sealed. Now, generally, I always put back fully sealed because I don't know why people use this. These get messed up. So I'll just always order a sealed one. And the code for a sealed one, RS. And if you want both sides sealed, which we do, it's 2RS. But I want to do a video which explains all about bearings later. So we need that. Now, I've measured this one. Let's measure this one. This looks like a 608 to me. So that is 22mm OD. ID should be 8 if it's a 608. Yep, that's 8. ID is 8, and the thickness will be 7. But as you can see there, you can actually just see the writing there. There's writing there that tells me what it is, but let's imagine that it's not. And if you get these cheap Chinese ones that have been put into something, it won't be said. Yep, so look there. Indeed, we are 7. Thickness for that is a 7. Now that, I know the code for that is a 608. Right, but let's go and pretend we didn't know that, and we're going to go and find that on the internet. Now they'll have a number. Let's say we don't know that number. So I've actually got here an exploded diagram of that chop saw spare parts. So it's that bearing there and that bearing there. So if we go over and have a look on the side of here, but here we are, number 20 and 24, bearing and bearing. Doesn't give you any details about it. So this is what you'll get. You'll just get a part number for, say, whatever brand you're dealing with, a brand of product. But look, it's got a price here. This is off the internet, with this not including delivery, 560, 562 and 917. Now, doesn't seem too much, but it is significantly more than if we just buy these bearings as bearings rather than a bearing for a Dewalt chop saw. So this is off of a supplier off of the internet, but we're now going to go direct on the internet and just get a bearing. Okay, so we know what sizes they are, so let's go on the internet now and try and find what the number for that would be. So I just put in bearing 35 by 15 by 11. Look, and immediately I come up here with the 6202 to RSC3, which is the bearing that we need. And I know that, but if you just want to go down to another one here, they are. So it's a 6202 2RS. Okay, the SKF 608 2RS has come in the post. So that's got seals on both sides. That's fully sealed. So I'm gonna put that on there. So I'm gonna stick it on there and then gently tap that down into there, and that'll be sealed on that one. The other one here hasn't yet arrived, so I need to wait for that one to arrive. But I can put this one on now. So let's do that now. Okay, that's on there now. So now we just need to wait for the other one to come to put that one on there. This arrived in the post this morning, but because on eBay, someone sent me out the wrong one. That's not a, even though the invoice here says, look, even though it says 2RS, they've sent me out a 2Z bellends. Anyway, I've run out of time, so I'm going to just stick that one on and order a 2RS again and change that over at some point, but that one will last for a bit. So now we're going to put this on. So you've got to remember that this, you get this on the right way round. So you've got a spring washer in there. Now this little gasket goes on that way round. Yeah. So that then has to go that way, like that. So that when this goes on like that, that's right. So, okay, and then you put the bearing on top of that. I'll take that bearing on there, slide it on there, and push that down. Okay, that slips down there to about there, then it starts getting to the press fit. So now I'm going to put a socket over there, and we'll just gently push that down onto there. I'll be back. Okay, I use the socket there, it goes over there and sits on that inner, on the inner race. And make sure when you get that down that this should be able to loose and be able to spin. And if you don't get that centered, the bearing will nip it up. So make sure that's centered like that. We can turn that around and stick that back in there. So let's see how that looks. Let me get that in there. That's in there now. Seated there with that spring. Runs lovely. So now what we can do, as we'll offer it back up to that, and I'm going to put some grease, put some new grease on that, and we'll connect that back up. All right, that's done up there. So there's that one, and that one. That's all nice and tight. Remember to put that one back in there like that. And then we can actually start putting the cover on and look to start this thing up and see what it sounds like. All right, so I've put that on. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts there. Remember, there's the little pin from there, this bit in here. Let's look. It sits in there, you see. So I put this one on here. Goes in there like that. And you put this back plate on. The splines. This is why you've got to be really careful when you're putting those bearings on. You don't hit the end of this, because if you burr that up, you won't get this back on. So that's on. I need to put this one on in there, in the middle. That's the locating ring for the. That's it. She's in there. Oh, right. Let's put the big disc on. See. Got that in there. I'm just going to wire brush that up and get the grease, get the rust off of that. And then I'll put right, that's all on there tight. I use a locking pin to tighten that up nicely. So now it's all it's left to do is to try this beast out, see how she goes. Okay, I've just used it to cut some of there and around there, but look, it's a lot quieter now. You could do it. Hope this video has helped. If you like the channel, subscribe. If you've got any comments, send me a comment. Remember, you can do it.